Let's start with the traditional microphone tuning stuff. Okay. Can you hear me? Great. Okay, so that was it. Okay, so we are very happy to be here, and we are extremely happy that you came to listen a bit of what we have to tell you, or what we want to tell you about bringing people together. The fact that we managed to bring you here together is our first success today. Okay, so we don't want to discuss all these lifetime values, cost per acquisition and stuff like this. We want to talk to you a little bit about building the communities and creating emotions, and what possibilities do we have looking at current social networks and gaming. But since we are not yet exactly too famous, our secret plan is to get all the GDC awards next year. But for the moment, let me just introduce Wojtek. So, my name is Jakub Duda, and this is a co-founder of incuvo, Wojciech Borczyk.
Hi.
We started our adventure with games in 2006 as a first chicken studio.
That was no? Hey, volume people, can you up the volume?
But just don't like that all the time. Hello.
Also, the static you hear, Jacob, is because you're close to the speaker.
Okay. Okay. Is it better?
Yeah.
Perfect. So,
yeah, guys, it's okay to tell us if you can't hear it. Just saying.
So, First Chicken Studio was our idea of making a small indie studio back in Poland. We like to call ourselves a garage company, but the problem is we didn't have even a garage. Our team was virtually spread over Poland, with lead programmer working in Japan in a slightly different time zone. But still we managed to release a retail title for Nintendo DS back when it was really a hot platform. I won't tell you the title because then you could check the Metacritic reviews, and that's not good. So, we worked on this secret title and a few others, and we created a Nintendo DS game engine, and ended up acquired by City Interactive. This is one of the biggest game developers and publishers in Poland. Just to explain, these are not the Witcher guys, but still one of the big players in Poland. And then we went from being indie to working in a game corp. We built over 40 developer studio for them, worked on over 15 titles ranging from Nintendo DS to Wii and then PS3 and Xbox 360 titles. And come to a point when it was no longer fun for us. We felt that it's kind of everything we could do there, and we no longer want to do it, so decided to go back to the roots and start doing something indie. I don't know how about you guys, but I decided that I want to make games when I was like 12 years old. The hardware was a bit different then, but over time, hardware changed, but the ideas didn't. We still think, even though we have grown out a little bit, we still think that being a game designer is a dream job right now. And if it's not a dream job, it could be your dream hobby. And we looked at iOS, and we saw that we could be great musicians. We could be great photographers. We could shape our virtual worlds in Minecraft. We could even create our virtual pottery if this is what we like. But there was no application to create games. So our idea was to start doing something fun and give this fun to our users, to make game creation fun and easy, and not to try to dress a developer tool as a consumer application. We wanted everyday users to be able to create, let's say, mobile AAA games without having any scripting skills, technical skills. We wanted this experience to be social, and this is not an empty catchphrase in this case. And we decided that the place where people have most fun right now is mobile. And we don't want to charge for it in the beginning. We want this experience to be free to play. So, with Createria, we want people to share their creations, to play other people's games, of course, get loot for it, get some collectibles, and eventually became famous for what they did. And we want them to co-create what they do. And this slowly brings us to the biggest problem we have encountered. We are good engineers. We are not afraid of any technical problems, technical issues. We have great artists, great designers on board. So we felt that we were secured and, let's say, development phase. But there is one thing that is still a problem, and the biggest problem we have. That question was, how do we create community for the game that will be great, that already is great, but will not exist without this community? And this is the moment when Wojtek will tell you a little bit more about our community.
Exactly. So, a little bit of history, how social gaming began. Actually, the first social games were for the so-called BBSs, bulletin board systems. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was like this box connected to your telephone line, you dialed in, there was some static noise in the background, then you had some text, then you said, wow, cool, I'm online. And then you played some game that looked like more of text, and then you had some achievement which was text stating that you have an achievement, and that was it. But it was the beginning of being social. It was asynchronous gameplay type, something that comes by your ears nowadays, but it was actually then when it began. Asynchronous meaning you weren't competing at the same time with other players. You were just like coming, seeing who did what, and trying to compete against them. Actually, the probably more known mods came later on. It was a role-playing style experience, but still in text mode. This was over the very popular at the beginnings of the internet. I myself spent quite a lot of time playing this when I was younger. And then there is this fun fact in when AOL came and they brought games, solitaire game became the most social game. I mean, solitaire social. Think about it for a moment. Despite the fact that it's designed for long plays. Why? Because of all the things around, like forums, like chats, like friends. So solitaire was one of the most popular social games. Like where there is place for being social in solitaire, yes there is, but it's in the stuff around the game itself. Actually, I don't like the mod. I played it before. Now I prefer it the fun way, perhaps. But yeah, this is how mod looked, and it was fun. It was social. So people want to play with people they already know. There is one fact that is very often overlooked. I mean, it's cool that we have all those social networks, but people don't want to compete or play with unknown players. Some won't, I won't, but I'm hardcore gamer in part of me. That part of me that is hardcore wants to play with other people I don't know. But on average, people want to play with their friends. I mean, when you go to some park or some stadium or whatever, would you pick up random guys and say, hey, come on, let's play some baseball? I don't think so. Maybe some of you, but usually not. And that the same it works with computer games, consoles, and mobiles. And people like to play together even if there is no direct interaction between them. That is something that now answers why solitaire was so popular. It doesn't matter if there is actual interaction. It means you need to care about building the layer around the game. The game doesn't have to, doesn't need to have any kind of multiplayer to be social. building social network is something that actually is next to impossible nowadays. Building your own network is difficult because of some of the reasons that are mentioned here. First, freemium-based systems need hundreds of thousands of users to work. You won't have a freemium-based system working with like 10,000 users, because then you will have the effect of there is nobody there. I mean, like there are users, but you don't know anybody. There is rarely anybody in the, let's say, chat room or area of interest that you are into talk to play with. You are simply bored, and it's like there is no social life in it. When you have hundreds of thousands of users, some interactions begin to happen. You might meet some of your friends, but the real fun begins with millions of them. So that's one problem. Other is you need to attract people that are completely not aware of your system, game, whatever it is, and that costs gazillion of dollars. And I mean it. It's very, very pricey. Next thing is by bringing another social network. I mean, you have accounts on Facebook, on Twitter, probably some of you, maybe on YouTube. Do you want another account? There is this Gmail, there is that. No, thank you for another social account. That is additional barrier that users simply don't want. I don't know if you know the fact that with each button that you have on your web form, for example, on in-game or anywhere, you lose up to half of people not going past it because of this one button, and they don't want to click it. So keep that in mind when you put all those registration forms this tall in your app. And if you lose user, you lose him for good. I mean, when he's out of your social network, you don't know where he is. You have no connection. He's out of it, he stopped using it. Maybe you have an email to him, but then your email will get straight to his spam box. Some systems, but actually not many, succeeded and do work this way. World of Warcraft is one of the examples. Yeah, so they have a huge user base with their own community, and it simply works for the people who are there. But this is rather a very rare situation. Usually there is a problem with such situation. And yeah, this is how social networking looks nowadays usually. I remember it actually the way when we used to sit and have a talk, and I'm not really much into this style of being social. So, what about other means? What about internet forums? Maybe they are of some help. Yes, they are, but there you have absolutely no viral effect. The people who go to speak at forums, those are users that already use the system and probably are very active in it. However, it doesn't mean that forums are not recommended. It is important to have such thing within your ecosystem, because this is the place for advanced users to share their tips, tricks, to have discussions, to build smaller advanced communities. I mean, you want some of your community to build those extra content, those extra bits of your community that people gather around. Forum is the place they talk about it, and they exchange their opinions, and they might help you to build something cool. Actually, I don't know if you are aware that with Little Big Planet, all of their community managers, I mean the guys who are paid for their job to be community managers, all of them come from the community, actual community. So forums were one of the places where we looked for those guys. And this is the place to get feedback from most loyal users. So the key is not to build your own network. And I must differentiate between network and user base. User base is one thing. You need a lot of users. But then there is this networking side. The key is to use and leverage existing social networks. There are a lot of potential customers waiting for you. Those networks give you better recognition of your game. And one of the most important things is that user who stops playing your game might actually come back later on because he's still in his base network. I mean, how many of you have dropped Facebook for like forever? I thought about it once, but never did. So they probably will be still there on the Facebook. You will be able to...
I can quit anytime.
You mean after incuvo exits?
Just anytime.
Yeah, I'll put the next one. And you'll be able to reach them with your adverts or some other means of communication. Maybe some of their friends who still play the game will tell them, hey, come back, there is this cool game, we need you there.